Okay, greetings, members of the Chess Club of Fairfield County. This is National Master Dan Lowinger, and I'm very excited to be presenting what I think is going to be a very exciting set of games on attacking and counterattacking and sort of the back and forth, very exciting games. The Sicilian Defense, there's no better opening for that than to study games in the Sicilian Defense. And for me, when I think of the Sicilian Defense as an opening of sort of swashbuckling attacks and back and forth, opposite side castling, that sort of thing. The first game that I think of, the game that I think really sets the pace and is important to understand as a sort of foundational game, is a game all the way back from 1958 between Fischer, Bobby Fischer, of course, and Bent Larsen. Let me go back to the beginning here. The opening starts with e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, the open Sicilian, takes, knight f6, knight c3, g6. So this is the dragon variation. Black is going to put his bishop on that very powerful long diagonal cutting through the center. And you'll notice that white has a space advantage. I highly recommend you watch my video series on the space advantage as well, because I think that will help to understand how white can generate an attack in the Sicilian. But black has an extra center pawn, and black has a semi-open c-file, and those are the makings of a counterattack. So it's a very, very exciting opening, and I believe it's still the most popular opening to this day among players of all levels. Okay, so white secures the center with bishop e3. It's very important that he anticipates some of the tactics that black can generate very early with his bishop on g7. So for example, here he plays f3, which is the right move to stop knight g4, just to show that if black plays a careless move, if white plays a careless move like a3, the kinds of tactics we can already see, knight g4 attacking the bishop. Of course, white doesn't want to allow double isolated pawns on e3 and e4, so he would, let's say if he moves his bishop, and just a sample variation, we can see already how much trouble white is getting into with his knight under double attack, his b2 pawn under attack, and there's all these, the queen and the bishop are just cutting through the board on these dark squares because the white dark square bishop is off on holiday on g5. And of course, white can't even move the knight because then the queen would come down to f2. That would be checkmate. So something like this is just to demonstrate that it's very important to keep this white bishop on e3 centralized, and that is why white plays f3. Note that on the previous move, white played f3. On the previous move, white did not have to play f3 as a preparatory move because if knight g4 happened here, there was bishop to b5 check, and because the black bishop is still on f8, the only way to get out of check is to block the check. If you block on c6, then of course I have two pieces that can take you, so that's winning material for me. And if you block on d7, you obstruct the bishop from defending the knight, and my queen could just take the knight. So the move order is quite precise here. Bishop to g7, bishop e3, bishop g7, and then f3, castles, queen d2. So white is going to castle on the opposite side of the board that black is castling on. And that is what sort of sets the tone for this, crazy, very, very direct attack that's going to happen with sacrifices and so forth. Because it's really a race of who can get to the other side's king and sort of strip it bare and expose it in the, get rid of the defenses, the pawns in front of the king and the pieces, the minor pieces, and then go for the throat. So knight to c6, bishop to c4, pointing directly at the king. This was the main line at the time. Nowadays, because of some of the defensive resources that have been found, people are looking at other moves here, like castles long right away, there's other lines that follow after that. But at the time, bishop c4, and it's still, I think, one of the main moves, very logical. And here Larsen plays, I'm not a super expert on this opening, but I don't think this is considered the best. He trades in the center, knight takes, bishop takes, and he plays bishop to e6. So he's trying to neutralize that bishop right away. If white takes the bishop, of course it's true that black is getting doubled pawns, but it's really very difficult to attack these pawns. He's also getting, on the plus side though, he's getting the semi-open f-file. Maybe this knight can reroute to the f4 square, which is a very nice outpost, and it'd be disruptive to white's setup. His queen would have to guard his g2 pawn. If his g2 pawn moved, his f3 pawn would be under surveillance by the rook. And these pawns are kind of hard to get at for white, and they also guard some important squares like d5. So I think that this would be, pretty okay. Black would be pretty happy with this. So in the game,